Hey guys, it's DC here. Today I'm talking with Cristi, who last year finished his OSCP certification successfully. And I just wanted to ask him a couple of questions that you guys were asking me to ask him. So Cristi, how you going?
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, not much, man. Just enjoying the quarantine life and basically getting through day by day at the moment. How about yourself?
Yeah, I guess we're all in this together. So
Pretty much,
it's
yeah.
not like you're suffering from the fear of missing out right now because everybody's missing out. So
That's exactly right. Yeah. And honestly, to be completely honest, quarantine or self-isolation hasn't had a huge impact on me anyway, because I work from home anyway. So it's much of a muchness for me, but I think a lot of people are very affected by it, which is, their own sort of personal problem. But anyway, let's get on with the questions here. So the first question is, did you study for the OSCP only through the free platforms available? And if you did, which ones were they?
okay, so I'm not sure how long or how much time do you want to devote to each question, but I'm gonna try to be as succinct as possible. In terms of my study for the OSCP, I actually did most of the studying during the OSCP. So let's take my case, for example. It was about, I think it was May when I got the 60 days of labs, May 2019. So I think I started the 60 days of labs somewhere around late May, let's say the 20th of May. And for the first 30 days, I've been only working on the materials provided by the offensive security.
Right.
So
Okay.
I haven't actually studied from other places, from other platforms, such as I haven't been doing labs on Hack the Box and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For the first 30 days of my 60 days of labs, I only studied the materials that were given by offensive security. And I've also been doing the lab exercises and reports at the same time to get the extra 5 points. So it was at that time I actually felt the fear of missing out because I wasn't doing any lab. I was only doing the materials like the book and the videos,
Just the
and I
coursework that
wasn't
comes with it.
actually
Yeah.
I haven't done any labs for the first 30 days, so it kind of felt like pressure. And only afterwards, when I finished with the exercises and with the lab reports, only thereafter I started doing the actual labs from the OSCP. But to answer your question, I didn't do much study outside of the certification because offensive security provides you with all the materials you need in order to be successful with the certification, provided that you have some decent knowledge in Linux, Bash, and networking.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess it's still fairly similar to when I did my OSCP back in 2016. It's the first time I did it, I failed, and I know exactly why. It's because I didn't study hard enough, and I very much rushed it. I got to about maybe halfway, and then I'd had enough, and I was like, no, I'm just going to go straight for it. I can't be bothered, and that was a massive mistake because I had to do it all over again. So yeah, anyone who's watching, don't make the same mistake I did. Stick to the study. Just do the coursework that comes with it. That's more than enough for what you need. And just like you said, as long as you have a background knowledge in Linux, especially Bash, and any sort of networking principles, that's going to help you go forward. So it sounds like it's still fairly similar to back when I did it. Obviously, there's some new stuff in there. I don't think it'd stay the same.
Well, they have updated the entire course. A lot of the materials have been fairly new since this February, I guess, and they've doubled the content in terms of the written content that you have to study. And I know that they've also added a lot of video materials as well. So the new OSCP, the 2020 updated version, is probably more extensive, much more extensive than what we've studied like a year or 2 years back, which actually is a really good thing for the people that are just
I think
on
so.
board.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's meant to be a hard certification to do. It's not meant to be an easy one. It's not entry level. It's meant to be difficult. So I'm glad they've upgraded a little bit and put some new stuff in there. Question 2. How long were you preparing for this course? I guess you've already sort of answered that with like roughly 6 to 9 months, because you said you did it in December, right?
No. So when I started, I actually started in May, and I scheduled my exam for July 31st. Right. So I would finish with the labs maybe a couple of days before the examination. So it was May to June, June to July, maybe mid-July, I finished with 60 days of labs, and by the end of the July, I took the exam.
Right, okay.
So yeah, it was like 60 days. But before that, I used to do like boxes on Hack the Box and Bone Hub.
Yep.
And that was like for a year before, but I never thought of actually doing the OSCP until maybe 1 or 2 months before paying for it.
Right.
So I never thought of doing the OSCP until 2019, maybe March.
Yeah.
And then in May, I just got the labs.
Okay, cool. Okay, so 60 days of labs and then you went straight for it and you were successful, obviously. That's awesome. Okay, so next question is, what certifications do you currently hold, or rather, what certifications did you have before doing the OSCP?
Well, I don't have any other certification than the OSCP, so I only have this one. And for the moment, I'm not actually looking forward to getting any certification in the near future. But when I do decide to start on certifications again, I'm probably going to be looking for something from eLearn Security, I guess. So eLearn Security, and also probably if the OSCP starts upping their game, such as they did with the OSCP in February, if they have updated materials on other certifications, I might be doing other certifications from offensive security.
Right.
And if you get an employer who's willing to pay for, I don't know, something from SANS or what was the other one that was super expensive? GIAC or something.
GIAC certified. Yeah, those ones are very expensive.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to pay in this situation for those. If I would have the money in the future, maybe I would be paying for them.
Okay. So I guess then what sort of organizations would you be applying for? This isn't one of the questions on the list. It's just something I'm curious about. What sort of organizations would you be applying for? Would it be like a specific pen testing company, or would you be looking more for, I don't know, something in an organization type setting?
You mean what company would I be willing to work for?
Not like a company name. I just mean like the structure of that business. So is it like an agency, like a government agency, or perhaps like just a pen testing company? They just do pen testing.
Well, I currently work with the company that does pen testing. So we get projects. We get mostly penetration testing projects. But if I want to up my game, so when it comes to upping my game, I would probably be working for a larger company of the same kind. I wouldn't be working for governmental agencies at this point. I don't know, it just doesn't attract me.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess it would be a private company that would be like larger private company with a fairly defined organizational structure.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I think that's a fairly common thing as well for offensive security professionals like yourself to not really want to go to government organizations or agencies, just because I can understand exactly why.
They might have some sort of limitations in terms of what you can do in
They definitely have limitations. Yeah.
So I'm not willing to go into that right now. Maybe at some point in the future, I don't know, but just not right now. I'm willing to work as a penetration tester or a cybersecurity analyst, or even get into blue team stuff at some point in time for private companies, which actually seem like more attractive to me right now.
Okay, cool. Next question is, how are you approaching, or how did you approach the practice for Python/programming to modify exploits? It's a bit of a sideways question.
Okay, do you want the longer version or the shorter version of it?
Let's go the longer version, but not too long, if possible.
Okay. I'll try to be like...
That's right, I've got a drink, so take your time.
Okay, so it was actually Python that got me into cybersecurity. So I started learning like Python a couple of years ago, started teaching myself Python, maybe it was 2015, I guess. And as I got into Python and then Linux stuff, it kind of naturally progressed into cybersecurity. So to make a long story short, how do I approach, or what was it? How
did you approach the practice for Python/programming to modify exploits?
Okay, so when I looked into exploits, for example, like let's say I was doing a machine when I was practicing on Hack the Box, or if I'm doing challenges on Attack Defense Labs, which seems a far more realistic platform in terms of real world scenarios compared to Hack the Box and other platforms, it kind of progresses naturally. If you've been doing Python for a couple of years and you have developed some sort of automation in your thinking when it comes to programming, such as loops, conditional statements, and stuff like that, when you're looking into a Python exploit and you understand what the type of exploit is doing, of course, you don't have to know any line of code, what's happening at every line of code, but you would know where and what to modify in order to make your exploit work. Because more often than not, you have to modify some sort of things to actually make the exploit work. So I guess it's a matter of practice, of practicing Python when it comes to your ability to understand and modify exploits, and even develop your own scripts when it comes to penetration testing and bug bounty hunting.
That's it. And with those scripts, would you recommend just like automating basic tasks first? So say you're writing a script to exploit a specific type of target. Would you maybe say, okay, we'll write a script that's going to automate as much of that process as possible, and just because it's an easy way to learn, do you think that would, be something that's quite useful in the real world?
Yeah, it is. Like for example, what I'm doing in bug bounty hunting, there's a lot of automation that you can build into the recon process, which is one of the first steps when you're assessing a target which has a bug bounty program. So for example, in let's say yahoo.com, for example. When you're doing recon, there are a lot of tools that are already made for recon. Yep. So let's say, for example, you have tools for subdomain brute forcing, you have tools for looking into Wayback Machine, you have tools for doing DNS stuff. If you know a little bit of Python or Bash, for example, you can actually put those tools together into a script and even automate the process even further. Or you can build your own stuff from scratch, which I wouldn't actually go for it, because there are so many good tools for subdomain brute forcing, for example. Why would I reinvent the wheel?
There's literally thousands on GitHub, yeah. You can pick and choose.
It might be a good exercise for your coding skills, but if you want to get stuff done, I'd rather be practical than super, not necessarily methodical, but I'd rather be practical than reinventing the wheel, like I said.
Yeah, Okay, yeah, fair enough. Okay, so next question is, what free resources do you recommend to learn Kali Linux?
Oh, I mean, you have the YouTube University, right? Uh,
Exactly. Yeah.
you you don't need other free resources. Well, if you're a visual learner, YouTube is great. I would say that I am a combination of hands-on learner or practical learner, for example, together with visual learner. So I learn the best when I actually watch, like, for example, take a course, a video course of stuff like that. But more than that, I seem to learn faster when I'm actually doing stuff myself. So interactively, that's the word.
Yeah.
There are a lot of tools or platforms that allow you to learn interactively. There are, like, specific to Kali Linux, I guess one of the tools or platforms is Hack the Box, of course, because you learn basic stuff when it comes to Kali and exploiting machines and stuff like that. They do have premium. Like memberships. There's also Vulnhub. Of course, there's TryHackMe. All of these are platforms that are more into penetration testing than actually learning Kali Linux.
Yeah. But along the way, you're going to learn how to use Kali anyway, just from doing these different CTF sites. So it's, I'd say for me, it's a lot of actually doing these CTFs, specifically ones where you have to boot up a virtual machine of Kali or use your own Kali box to do it. Or, watching a YouTube tutorial on how to do something specifically. And usually that I'm learning that because I want to do a CTF. So I'm sort of taking both in hand and learning from doing the two things there. So I guess that's pretty much exactly what you just said, by the visual side of things as well as the actual doing it. And you don't really need to pay to do a course on Kali. I don't even know if there is one, to be honest, but I've never looked at paying for a Kali course in my life. I've only ever played with it myself.
There are also other platforms which have a combine of like free stuff and membership stuff. There is Attack Defense Labs, which I talk a lot about in my videos. Attack Defense Labs have very realistic scenarios when it comes to all things cybersecurity. They have like 1,800 challenges right now, which most of them are realistic and are really good. Their subscription is about $40 a month, which is something that I don't know, maybe a beginner wouldn't want to pay, but myself, I would want to pay that money because I think I get a lot of value from them. And they're very interactive, of course. There's also Pentesters Labs. There's also, what else? There's Cybery. They also have free and paid stuff. Yep. They have a lot of courses. They have a lot of courses on Kali Linux, for example.
Yeah, but there's a lot on Udemy, actually. Now that you mention Cybery, there's a lot of courses on Udemy for Kali as well.
I think there are quite a few courses that are free on Udemy when it comes to Kali Linux. So you just go there and search for Kali Linux. But
check it out.
I don't know, if you're looking for a course, you would be going to Udemy or Cybery, or even, Pentesters Labs it's Pentesters Academy. They have courses, but that's under their subscription.
Yeah.
But of course, there's also books. There are quite a lot of, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of books on the subject. It's just pick one and go through it entirely, instead of just trying to divide your attention into 10 different resources and don't get to the end of any one.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So the last question is, do you currently work in IT, which I know you've already answered, and what's your study schedule like at the moment, which I guess you've also sort of answered?
Okay, yeah, so to reiterate on this, I do work with the company. We're doing penetration testing. I also have stuff that I'm doing myself, like for example, bug bounty hunting. I've been doing bug bounty hunting for a couple of months. I found a lot of bugs. None of them I haven't found yet any bug to be rewarded. So I'm still, I guess, at ground zero, I would say, with the financial rewards from bug bounty hunting. But over the past couple of months, I've learned a lot while doing it. I developed my own methodology in terms of the recon. Of course, thanks to a lot of the work that people such as NahamSec, the Cyber Mentor, and others are putting out there. So I didn't develop it like originally. I just put stuff together and also automated some stuff myself. Yeah. It's a never-ending journey when it comes to bug bounty hunting, and hopefully soon enough I will be actually striking with a nice rewarded bug.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so for your sake. Yeah.
Yeah, and when it comes to actually studying, I try to devote at least at the very least an hour per day to trying to learn something new. And of course, if somebody wants to learn web application penetration testing, one great resource is the WebSec Academy. The guys who've written the Web Application Hackers Handbook, the first and the second edition. The second edition was in 2011. They have the WebSec Academy, Web Security Academy, which is totally free. So you can learn there interactively. They have a written section where you learn about a certain vulnerability, and then they have their labs, which are completely free, and you get to do the labs on their platform. So I think it's
awesome. I've never heard of that before. That sounds awesome.
It's a really good one. I talked about it in my recent the live stream that I did a couple of days ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I tried to get back to your question. I try to devote at least a sufficient amount of time to learning every day, because we are in a field where learning should never end. And you would be a good cybersecurity professional if you try to up your game and stay up to your game every freaking day.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and it's a constant fight, I guess, against renewing certifications, depending on how many you have and how many your employer requires you to have, and staying up to date with the times and the news as well, which I think is quite important as well. Just on bug bounties, so you've been doing them for a couple of months. I guess, how did you sort of get started in bug bounties? Was that off like talking with other people, or was it just something you sort of got interested in?
Well, to trace back in time the point when I decided to do bug bounties, I think it was immediately after getting the OSCP. I'm not really sure what video I was looking at on YouTube or what live stream I was looking at. Maybe it was NahamSec, or I don't know exactly, but up till that point, I disregarded bug bounties because I said, it's not worth it, because thousands of people are doing it, thousands of people are looking at the same program as I'm looking at this moment, and the chances are that I'm gonna get duplicates is super high, and that's actually what's the case. But the idea is that I was pretty much motivated to keep on doing it, because at every with every new bounty program that I'm working on, I learn something new. I try to develop my own scripts when it comes to automating stuff, when it comes to, let's say, for example, when you're when you've been tired of doing, let's say, web application bug bounty hunting, you want to get into mobile bug bounty hunting, and that's like, you approach that in a very different manner. So with bug bounty hunting, I've actually learned a lot how to work with Burp Suite, because, for example, in my OSCP study, I never actually touched Burp Suite.
Really? Okay.
So that's kind of interesting. Maybe it's kind of unconventional, but I only started using Burp Suite when I started doing bug bounty hunting.
Okay, that's interesting. I definitely use Burp Suite in my OSCP, but I guess it's a different approach. And you don't have to use it, of course. You can do anything your own way when doing the OSCP. But just on bug bounties still, do you think it's like, for all the new players out there who are looking to get into bug bounties, Do you think it's worthwhile still getting into bug bounties, or do you think it's better off approached as a learning experience rather than something you're going to make money from?
Wow, this is a loaded question. So,
a little bit,
of course, I would always encourage, and I would say, yes, it's still worth it. It's still going to be worth a year from now. Even with the current situation, with the current global situation, it's still worth it. But in order for someone who might not be as motivated, like, for example, as I am, to actually keep on doing it for months at end without actually seeing any money from it, you wouldn't have to prioritize money when it comes to the bug bounty programs that you're working on. Let's say you have yahoo.com. Okay, I'm gonna do bug bounties on yahoo.com, but my outcome is not $1,000 in a month. It is actually learning how to do recon in a month, to be decent with recon, and maybe apply that same recon process at a different program. So if money is not the end goal, it would be much easier for someone to actually keep on doing bug bounties. It's right. Very challenging. Maybe the thing that keeps me on it is the fact that I get to learn new stuff. There's so many things that you can do when it comes to bug bounty hunting. You can solely focus on, for example, one type of bug, and that would be advisable to do. Like, let's say, for example, you don't want to be a jack of all trades. You want to do specifically, let's say, XSS. You're focusing on XSS. You want to master XSS. You've got tons of resources on XSS alone, and you've got the free interactive resources on Web Security Academy. So you focus on a specific type of bug or a specific type of a process in the methodology, like, for example, recon, or source code review, or you're doing mobile application bug bounties. Focus on one thing and then try to apply or try to look for that thing in every bounty program that you are after. Yeah,
that's it. So I guess you sort of need to go into bug bounties for the right reason. You don't want to go into it expecting that you're going to make, $70,000 on your first bug, because it's almost guaranteed not to happen. It's not impossible, but it's probably not going to happen. So I guess go into it for learning first.
We only get to see, the majority of people only post and brag about the bounties that they receive. So if you look on Twitter, if you look for bug bounty, the hashtag bug bounty or bug bounty tips, you're only going to see successful accomplishments. You're only going to see people being paid this much money for this bug, this much money for that bug. But you're never going to see someone who said, hey, look, in March alone, I've submitted 30 bugs, out of which 29 have been rejected. Yeah. Nobody is going to post about that, or at least very few people are going to post about that. And this kind of creates the illusion that bug bounty might be easy money, or might be something that is like attainable.
That's it. That's sort of what I've been saying to people who have asked me about bug bounties is, should I get into it? And I say, if you're trying to get into bug bounties to make a quick dollar, it's not going to be a quick dollar. It's going to be a learning experience, and that's the reason you should get into it. So I was curious of basically what you would say on that topic as well, but it sounds like you're saying literally exactly the same thing as me. So that's good to hear.
Well, if you are a real hacker whose nature is curious by default, it's not going to be difficult to stay motivated in bug bounties. If you're in it for the money, chances are that it's very likely you're not going to be motivated for a long time.
Yeah, that's it.
As a beginner, because there are good bug bounty hunters, like, who make hundreds of thousands, who are simply doing it for money, but they have the experience and the knowledge. So
yeah, they didn't start off making hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they started off making, your 29 rejects out of 30 submits. So
30.
Yeah. So no, that's it's good to hear that I'm on the point there. So anyway, that was the last question for you. Thanks for joining me on this chat. It's been great talking to. Now's probably a good time to plug any of your socials that you might want any of my followers to follow you on.
Well, I mean, it's easy. You can just go to Twitter, and from there you'll get to all of the platforms that I am. And so on my YouTube, it's I think you can leave my Twitter handle in the description of this video. So
sure.
From there you can find me everywhere. Okay,
will do. That sounds good. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and leave a comment below with any questions that you want to ask me or Cristi, and I'll pass them on to him. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.